Hello and welcome to Real Film Snobs. I'm Angela Yeager. Pleased to have with me today, back on the show once again, Ernie Quiroz and Hayley Ringle. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello,
So
hello.
this, so this is going to be the Ernie and Hayley show. I'm just here as a special guest host, really, this episode. Um, Hayley and Ernie recently attended the Phoenix Film Festival, and they wanted to do a couple of episodes. So this is our part one of two episodes we'll have. This one is on narrative feature films that Hayley and Ernie saw at the film festival, and then the next episode you'll see in a few weeks after this one will be on documentaries. So I'm hoping that one of you could actually start by giving us a little background about the Phoenix Film Festival, because I don't think when I lived in Phoenix, which has been 23 years exactly now, that the Phoenix Film Festival is going. Because Haley and I, at the time when we wanted to go to film festivals, had to go to Sedona. So, can you tell us a little bit about how long it's been going? And it seems like it's gotten quite a bit bigger from where it used to
Yeah,
be.
I can talk about it since I technically work for them. Yeah, the festival, this was their 21st year or 20th year. They started in 2000, 2001, and then COVID years, I don't know,
Right
kind of.
after I left, it's like I left in
Yeah,
2000. They were like, "Oh, now it's time to start a film festival in Phoenix." Okay.
Mhm.
yeah. So they've been around for a while. The founders that started are still involved with it. The core team that started it 20 years ago are still involved. It has grown. I think it was like a 3-day festival when it first started, and it was mostly local films, and now it's like a 10-day festival, and they'll do all the workshops and panels, and they do sort of pride themselves on showcasing local films, and they'll do like film education, they'll do like film camps for kids. They'll do a lot of stuff, and also diversity. They have I'm part of the Latinx programming team. We have films for LGBT, African American, AAPI, LGBT films. So we really do try to be inclusive and show diversity of films. To that end, it's a mix of like the showcase films, like I said, local films, some real independent stuff that you can't see anywhere else beyond the film festival circuit. So, but we decided for purposes of these shows, we're limiting ourselves to movies that people there in Oregon or elsewhere can actually see, rather than talking about these films that you may or may not see. We're going to try to limit thing that you can actually see, to hopefully get you excited about some of these films. So,
That's exciting. And so you're on the programming committee, Ernie?
with the programming team, I've been involved with the festival in one way or another since like 2005. I actually had a film in the festival
Oh, wow.
2005, and then I was a volunteer. I've been programming. I've kind of done it all. And so for the last couple of years, I've been the Latinx programmer. So there's some Latinx films in the festival, and then I program those.
Very nice. And Haley, was this you've attended before, I assume?
Yeah, I've been for many years. It's funny because my Facebook memories, which is my only memories because I have such a bad memory. So I was like, oh, I remember I was at this 10 years ago watching this movie, forgot about that. So I don't know exactly how many years I've gone, but I know Ernie, has given me some passes over the years back when I was friends with some people who I'm not friends with anymore. So that was another thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that was the Alexis years. I felt this year there was over 200, I think 250 movies, right? I
Yeah.
had a friend who took the week off and went to 58 movies. So, so there's definitely some diehard people who love and ultimately got COVID. But uh, you know, so ultimately, I feel like this year especially, there was some really great films and documentaries. I know in the past there's been some good movies, but there's also been some misses, especially with like the closing and opening films. Ernie knows what I'm talking about with some this awful closing film that they showed. The one thing it seems to kind of lack that it has in the past is some guests. I feel like there were more guests in the past. And this time when there was a guest, it wasn't like mentioned and it was like, oh, the director's here, everybody's leaving. But, you know, people want to talk to the director because I don't think anybody knew the director was going to be there. So that was the
That's
one
too
thing I
bad.
felt.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
usually they'll note in the program, like I know for me, one of the benefits of going to film festivals is the fact, like I specifically pick movies where the director might be there or someone involved in the movie because that's something that makes it special, right? Otherwise, you could just watch it in the theater or watch it, at home on streaming. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so did you see a lot though, Haley? You did. I assume you did not take the week off, but you did
No,
attend.
no, I only went to like one movie a day and I really only saw like 10 movies. So I didn't go to, you know, that many compared to, you know, maybe Ernie or some other people.
Well, I'll be excited to talk here. So why don't we? You guys are introducing all the movies since I haven't. I've seen one from this episode and then one for the next one we're doing. But why don't you kick it off, Haley, with the first movie you wanted to talk about?
Okay, great. And I did pick some of these movies just because of their titles. Sometimes when there's like so many movies, you're like, oh, this sounds interesting, you know? So luckily it worked out. But the first movie I saw was called The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, which was directed and written by Bomani J. Story. And this is a modern day Frankenstein tale set in a crime ridden neighborhood. This teenage girl, of course, is like this super, you know, smart scientist, and unfortunately, she had some death in her family. And so she's kind of set out to what they say cure death, you know, kind of Frankenstein style. So, unfortunately, you know, as always happens, she resurrects, you know, the corpse of her slain brother, but it doesn't go as planned. And he turns into this, you know, crazy monster who goes on a killing spree. The main character is her name is Laia De Leon Hayes, and she is a former Disney star who's also starring opposite Queen Latifah on the CBS show The Equalizer. Didn't really have too many other people that I recognized. The director, Bomani J. Story, this was his featured directorial debut. And I really like the film. I love kind of modern takes on films, you know, kind of, you know, like they said, from this uh, told by a Black lens. It was mainly, I think there was like one white actor in the film, you know, it was mainly Black actors and, you know, kind of told from, you know, the Black, you know, like they said, the Black lens. So, and I love horror films too. So I thought it kind of had that good mix of, you know, a young woman who is smart and, you know, trying to solve a problem, and then crazy killings and, you know, kind of intrigue in the neighborhood, like, you know, what's going on. So I thought it was a good modern take on the story.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there was yeah, it was a lot of good representation in terms of not only African Americans, but like, young female characters
Mhm.
and female characters that are into like STEM and science, even though obviously this is like an odd, like, not really pro science, but I liked the science aspect of it. It did kind of, I felt it did have some tone issues of like, it is, on the one hand, it is trying to be like super serious and be kind of somewhat scientifically grounded, as much as it can be for bringing something back to life. And then it kind of got a little silly, and then it's an inherently kind of silly premise, and it just kind of got ridiculous. So I didn't it couldn't
As is
for me.
Frankenstein.
Well, for me, it couldn't. It had trouble trying to find where that balance was. It was like, is it trying to be too serious? And then, of course, it brought in the whole subplot of why did the brother die? It's all drug violence and sort of inner city violence. So there's some serious messaging there.
Mhm.
But then it just was a little too over the top silly with like the unbelievable sort of science aspect of it. If it'd been a little more grounded, which again, this sounds ridiculous for criticizing this movie. If it was a little more grounded, I think I would have liked it a little bit more. But overall, I thought it was no, it was a good take on the sort of Frankenstein myth.
And, it's a horror movie. So I don't know if a horror movie can ever be completely, like you said, believable, and then the whole of course, that you're not going to be able to bring someone back just from jolting them. So,
She did see, I thought she was too young. I felt like that was a little too unbelievable too. Like if maybe she was, because I felt like she was like preteen or like early teen. I felt like if she was an older teen, then maybe that would have gave it a little bit more credibility. I felt maybe she was too young as a
Mhm.
character.
I actually did
yeah.
see this movie because it
Oh, you
played at
did.
yeah, this one I saw it, it's been at some other film festivals and I was able to watch it. I did not like it very much. I had some of the same issues, but maybe to more of an extreme than Ernie. I thought the main performance was really good, but a lot of the other parts of it did feel like a first time film in some of the worst ways. It seemed like it either needed to go in full camp mode and be kind of like a crazy horror movie, or take on the real issues of inner city violence, but it's trying to mesh these things that I thought wasn't 100% successful to me. Also, I didn't find it very scary. So, because it sets up this whole thing with her really kind of challenging her science teacher who's not taking her seriously, and she's experiencing like some real racism at her school, which she goes to because she's super smart, like this kind of, you know, uh, more of a privileged school than not the school that's in her neighborhood. So I was like, oh, we're going down this path, and then it goes into the Frankenstein thing, and I thought, okay, now we're totally shifting gears here from where we started. So for me, it was just not working in that way. But I would be interested to see, particularly I did not recognize very many of the actors in it, and I did not recognize the main actress. Although I have to admit, I have not seen the Equalizer show with Queen Latifah, but I thought she was quite good, and I'd like to see her in more. So yeah, but it sounds like you both recommend it.
I thought it
I'm
was
like a
fun. It wasn't like the best, but I thought it was
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
I'm a slight thumbs up on that one. So the one I want to talk about is called Polite Society, which, if depending on when you're listening to it, it just opened up here
It
in
just
the
opened up
feature.
here in Salem as well, so this is good timing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hopefully, people get a chance to check it out. It's a film. Nida Manzoor is the director, and it's a fun sort of genre mashup along the same lines of Everything Everywhere, of where it's like a family drama meets like a martial arts movie. So it's about these two daughters. They're Indian descent, growing up in London. The older daughter is about to get married, and the younger daughter, her younger sister, is sort of suspicious of the fiance and sort of the family that she's married into. Sort of think that they're up to like no good. She sort of dreams of being a stunt woman, is into martial arts and all this stuff. And so she sort of convinces her friends to like investigate who this family, who this guy is, and the family. She's very suspicious of the mother-in-law, the future mother-in-law, and then uncovers this mystery. So at the one hand, yeah, it's basically this very like Jane Austen sort of like family drama thing of like these two sisters and sort of like her marrying into like this other family, but then yeah, it's this fun martial arts thing, and overall I think it was a lot of fun, a lot of great stunt work, a lot of interesting, the family dynamics. Her friends, the younger sister, she has these two friends that I thought were, like they're the comic relief, and I thought they were really great. The bad lady, I guess you could say, she was the bad lady in Miss Marvel, which I never
Mhm.
saw, but people might recognize her from that. But I thought it was just a lot of fun, and like I said, it's a mix of sort of this female centered drama story with martial arts. So
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It actually got 5 stars in our local paper, the Arizona Republic. It was not reviewed by the main reviewer. It was reviewed by a woman. So I don't know if our main reviewer would have given it 5 stars. But I thought it was a lot of fun. The main character, Priya Kansari, is from Bridgerton, which I'm a big fan of. And then the villainess is, known for Miss Marvel, which I liked, and I definitely saw some similarities. And her name is Nimra Bucha, and she is like the perfect villainess. And I wish that she would, Disney would cast her in like some villain movie because she was like so amazing. Um, and so I love, this was definitely a fun movie, I think, for all ages. I always love when there is, again, we have a teenager who is out to solve a problem, and she has her friends behind her who are, you know, uh, they're like these detectives and ultimately, they do find out that there is reason for, for them to have concern. So I thought it was really fun. I love the fighting scenes. I'm not a big action person, except when there's women doing the fighting scenes. I think it just is way more interesting. And you give me John Wick 4, which I had to see for 2 hours and 40 minutes with women, I would probably like it way more. But there's just too many men killing, but obviously this isn't killing, but I mean, I loved the kung fu scenes, and her, she looked up to this female stunt woman who's a real female stunt woman, and so I loved that. And it kind of reminded me of a lot of if you've ever seen the show Never Have I Ever, kind of reminded me of that. So it was a lot of fun. I really liked it.
Yeah, I like the idea that the two sort of core audiences that are going to go see this movie would never, in any other circumstances, like me, you have like, I think, older women who might respond to like the sort of almost period costume aspect, like the almost, like I said, Jane Austen sort of relationship drama stuff, and then like the dude bros who want to see like kung fu movies. Like that's the Venn diagram of this movie, which I think is like really awesome and kind of fascinating. So I
Hopefully
think if
that
you
means
like,
it finds an audience because that worries
yeah,
me a little bit. Those are seemingly pretty opposite.
yeah, if you like either one of those, you're gonna like this movie, and hopefully you'll like learn to like the other side of that, of the equation.
When I saw the trailer, and it just opened here in Salem, and I haven't had a chance to see it yet because it just opened Friday. It made me think of Everything Everywhere All at Once in terms of just like I thought, oh, okay, you got to have some women that are kicking butt, but then there's like this family element. So I thought maybe there was some. I wondered if we're with the success of that movie, we're going to start to see some, kind of some more films in that kind of vein coming out.
Yeah, hopefully. That's, no, I think and it's not like gimmicky. I think it legitimately works, and
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
um
that's good. Good.
yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't
Yeah, I'm
any of the
excited.
fantasy that, from Everything Everywhere. It was more real. She was actually doing it,
Right. So there's no
the kung
metaverse or
fu.
anything. Yeah, gotcha.
No, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like that works. Okay, great. Another
Yeah,
good recommendation. That one's at
yeah.
thing in theaters now, so people can go check it out.
Hmm.
Check it out, Polite Society. So my next
Yes.
one is called Showing Up. This is a new Kelly Reichardt movie. People probably know her from First Cow a couple years ago, way back in the day, Wendy and Lucy, Old Joy. So this is a film. She's teaming up with Michelle Williams again. Michelle Williams plays this artist named Lizzie, and she's sort of like in this artist in residence program, or like this artist colony, and then she's just preparing for a show, and that's really about it. Like there is a lot of other things happen, but it is so like, don't get me wrong, like there's very low stakes. There's not a lot that happens. It's a very quiet, sort of slow,
It sounds like a
almost,
Kelly Reichardt movie, in other
yeah,
words. That's what all of her films are
exactly.
like. I love her films. I'm a huge fan, so I'll just say that up front.
Which is the exact point. I mean, she's dealing with her family, and sort of deals with like her landlord, who is also an artist. She has she has to nurse this pigeon. This pigeon gets hurt, and so she has to take care of this pigeon. Which all kinds of sound ridiculous, and like there's not really going on, but that's kind of the point. In the meantime, she's kind of creating these sculptures for this art show, this big art show. So it's almost like how she has to deal with all these like sort of little mundane things in life, when really she just wants to put on her art show. There's like a brother who's also an artist, and he's doing his crazy things. There's, her mom and their dad are no longer together. Um, but it's really just about her getting ready to put on this show.
Yeah, she's definitely a curmudgeon. It's kind of like a week in the life of an artist, kind
Mm-hmm.
of her preparing for her art, but then all these things keep like deterring her from finishing, and it's her being um, annoyed by the next door neighbor who has a bigger art show than her, by her brother who's always like, doing crazy things, by her parents who she feels like she always has to kind of, follow up with. So it's definitely a good film if you like kind of like curmudgeon films, somebody who's like upset about everything, which I love those things because I just find it really funny.
Sort of like a female American Splendor or something, right? I was thinking of American Splendor, but
yeah, she does a good job of being, being dour and kind of like a grumpy, you
Yes.
know, not, but I think for valid reasons. Like, she just wants hot water. She's complained her landlord is also in our. She just wants hot water, and she's like, "Can I get hot water so I can take a shower?" And her landlord is, she's busy doing her own show, and
But we
like,
have to say her landlord is Hong Chow, who
oh, I love her.
is fabulous. And obviously, Michelle Williams is always good in her own way. Andre 3000 from Outcast is kind of the
okay.
kiln master. He hasn't been in a lot of films, so it was cool to see him. So what did you think, Ernie? Did you like it or?
Oh, no, I really liked it. I liked it a
Yeah,
lot, and I think, it, like I said, it's like other Kelly Reichardt movie. Like, not a lot happens, and that's kind of the point. And it's just about her dealing with like sort of everyday things,
yeah,
and sort of getting in the way of her doing her art.
Hmm.
Uh, and not and at the end at the art show there are some things that happen, but it's not like a big huge revelatory thing. It's not like, oh my god, it all. No, it just kind of just more like life.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's definitely a good film for people who want slower, very dialogue-driven films. You know, that's why I liked it. And I didn't think it was that slow because you do have a lot of crazy stuff that happens, you know.
yeah.
So,
I also want
and
to
it,
point out. Oh, I also wanted to point out that her father is played by Judd Hirsch.
mhm.
So this was so when I saw like, oh, Judd Hirsch and Michelle Williams, they actually can act, because I
Oh no,
hated
now you're going to go off on Spielberg again. Here we go.
I hated the Fableman, and I don't understand how both Judd Hirsch and Michelle Williams were getting so much praise for the Fablemans when I thought they were horrible in it.
Well,
Uh,
the problem with that movie was they were overacting.
yeah, so this reminded me like, oh my god, I guess I feel bad for saying this. Like, in the hands of a better director, they can do a better job.
You heard it here first, Film Snobs fans. Ernie's going on record saying Kelly Reichardt is a better direction than Steven Spielberg. Let the emails begin on that one. I have to mention, give a shout out, of course, because Kelly Reichardt, makes most of her movies, not every single one, but most of them in Oregon. And this one again is like First Cow, although that was filmed more in the rural areas of Oregon. This one was filmed in Portland, and I think maybe takes on some of those issues from what I've heard about, like, with the landlord and everything. But obviously, there's a lot of
And
artists like this in Portland. So,
yeah, you have the intricacies. They're like, oh, it's in Portland. Oh, this makes sense. You know,
right. Yeah. There's
yeah,
probably a lot of stuff that's very specific to that, like First Cow. So
yeah.
definitely, it's showing here in Oregon now. So check it out, especially if you're interested in, Kelly Reichardt's films are all made in Oregon. So I feel like it's like, as an Oregonian, you feel like, oh, it's required viewing to watch all of her films. But also, I've been a big fan for a long time. So
Hmm.
that's very exciting. So I think we got one more film, and Hayley, take it away.
Yes. So this is another film I chose because I really like the title. Aliens abducted my parents, and now I feel kind of left out. Directed by Jake Van Wagoner. It's kind of a classic, a new girl in town thinks her life is over because her parents are moving her to this small little town where nothing happens. And then she meets a boy. Um, Her neighbor is space obsessed. Her neighbor, Calvin, he believes his parents were abducted by aliens. And so the main character, Itzy, is an aspiring journalist, and she is kind of egged on to write an expose by this local mean girl. And of course, she discovers more to the story, and it helps that the main boy is really cute. So So I really, I thought it was like it was a little cheesy at times, but I liked it. It was family friendly. It was kind of like an after school special, but like a little elevated. It had a lot of great characters in it. The main girl, Itzy, is played by Emma Tremblay, who's from the Supergirl TV series, and she's in movies like The Giver and Elysium. And then Calvin, the boy, is played by Jacob Buster, who's in the new Let the Right One In TV show, which I have not watched. And then it also stars Will Forte and Elizabeth Mitchell. Um, it definitely was a fun. I thought it was great acting, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I know most of the people around me were like, "That was, it was great." It was like an uplifting, like fun movie. The one thing I thought was definitely very movie like, where the main girl's her parents were very like freewheeling and like completely different than my parents. Like at one point, she gets grounded and they're like, "Oh, it's fine, you can go out tonight," and I'm like, "Yeah," said no parents ever. So that was very much like a movie parents. They like go away for 3 days and let her stay home with her brother. But I thought I really liked it. Again, I know I've been saying this a lot, but I thought it was a fun film and definitely a good family friendly movie, kind of a teen, good teen drama.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine for younger kids. It didn't necessarily resonate with me too much. I'll be honest, I saw it. It was at Sundance, and I saw it, in the mix of like 20 other films that stood out more and or that resonated more with me. So this really didn't do so much. But I think if you're a preteen, a young kid, or looking for a good family film with some sort of like fun sort of sci-fi, like you said, alien abduction type elements, I think this would be fine. I mean, it did kind of make me feel like a Nickelodeon or Disney movie. So I would recommend for that, not necessarily for me.
Good title though. Do you know if this one's coming to theaters
I think
or streaming?
I think it's on, I want to say Apple Plus, but don't quote me on that.
Okay. Cool. Well, it sounds like you guys you picked some lighter. Well, I guess showing up is not as light, but it's interesting. You picked some more like you think of film festivals, you often think of kind of like dark, heavier stuff, but it sounds like this is sort of also showing another side for a film festival that has some, more entertaining, kind of little lighter fare.
Well, even
Well,
showing
the
up
angry
is not.
black girl.
I mean, and showing up is not that dark or heavy or I mean, it's
Hmm.
about an art. No, it's not. And it's not the big profound, you know, like whoa, the heavy
Right.
issues with. Yeah, so no, and then no, and I agree with you. I think that is one of the reasons why I sort of liked it, and it was a good alternative to the heavy stuff that festivals usually have.
Right. So you got your Tars of the world, and then you have your angry black girl and her monster type movies, right? So, which I know that was not light, but it's a horror film, but it has enough kind of entertaining, cheesy aspects with the Frankenstein thing that it's like, oh, this is such a serious look at inner cities or something. So, anyway, this sounds like a lot of fun. Next time you'll be talking about documentaries, and so that will be a lot of fun to talk about. Thank you, Hayley and Ernie, for being on the show. And as always, check us out on our website, on Facebook. We'd like to thank our fabulous crew, which is mainly Brad Wortman these days, and our fabulous sponsors. We're on CC Media in Salem, on Scan TV, Corvallis Access Media, KMUZ, KMWV Radio, and we have a podcast. So we're everywhere. Check us out. Thank you very much. Have a great day and great movies. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.